Hi, everyone. Namaste. Happy Sunday. Let me get started here with my video. There I am. Okay. Welcome. Hi. If you're here, say hello. I have my chat open as usual. So I'm going to communicate with you guys as much as I can. If you do communicate with me through chat. All right. Give it another minute. Hope everyone's enjoying your Sunday. It's raining here in Florida. If you're not in Florida, it's actually a really nice day for this practice and this workshop that I'm excited to be presenting again, or the second part, rather. So if you were here with me last week, last Sunday, this is the second part of this particular series. I don't know how many there's actually going to be. What I kind of had it open as is whatever I accomplish as far as information, I'm going to just kind of roll with it to see how many parts we may do for this. Adjust this really fast. So 606, you know what? For those of you who are here with me now, so quiet. It's always funny. I know you're there. I can see that there's people watching. So thank you for being here. If you do want to say hi, awesome. I would love that. If not, totally cool as well. Let's go ahead and stand up. So if you're with me, let's stand because we're going to be seated, obviously, for this practice. If you have any issues for whatever reason standing, that's fine. You can stay seated. But we're going to just do a little getting the body moving, because before you sit for anything, meditation, pranayama practice, which is essentially the entry into meditation practice, you do want to get the body relatively open, warm, loose. So we're going to do a little movement, just super, super little. Go ahead and open up your feet the width of the mat, and we're going to start by softening the knees and just bouncing, shaking the body. So you're just going to go into a little bit of a bounce. And as we bounce, I want you to start to turn on that internal burner. So if you want to bring your hands to your belly, you can. We're going to take a deep, full breath. We're going to inhale, fill belly, fill your chest, hold it in, and then exhale. If you want to come up to your toes and bounce to your heels, that's a nice option too. We're going to go a couple more times. So nice long breath in. Exhale. Now let your arms start to shake. Let your shoulders start to bounce. Let your whole body just kind of bounce. Again, inhale, full breath in. And let it out. Now start to go back and forth, or rather side to side, left foot to right foot, just bouncing as you breathe. Nice inhale. Now we're going to do this. We're going to go inhale 1, 2, 3, and exhale 1, 2, 3. So it goes inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Janine, what's up, babe? A few more times with your bounce. Again. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Exhale. Come to center. Stop shaking. Completely stop. Be still for a moment. Take a deep breath in. And long exhale out. Good. We're going to keep our mouth closed now. Feet still wide. Let's go into our empty coat sleeves. We did this one last week. So all you're doing is turning side to side. I'm going to take this off for now. Twisting a little bit, allowing those arms to just kind of hit the body. No control of the arms. Let them flop. Twisting right and left. If you want to close your eyes, you can. Keep those knees soft. Ground through your feet. Take a deep breath in through your nose, into the belly. Pause when you're full. Long exhale out. Use that Ujjayi breath. Those of you who were here last week, hopefully you were here last week, know what I'm talking about. So go ahead, couple more Ujjayi breaths. Long inhale in. Long exhale out. Last breath here. Inhale in. Hold it in for a moment. And slow exhale, Ujjayi exhale. Start to come back to a center position. Maybe your eyes stay closed. Take a moment to come into stillness. Once you're there, take a moment there. Long, deep breath. Exhale, settle in. Bring your hands over your navel center, making a little diamond over your belly button there. Take a couple breaths right into the palms of your hands, feeling the heat of your body. Just tuning in, sensing how you're feeling today, how your digestive system is doing, how your breath is feeling, the temperature of the room, all the things. So turning on our subtle awareness, bringing our attention to this vital center here, our core, our hara center, our manipura chakra, the center, or the central sun rather. Deep full breath in and long exhale. Go ahead and step your feet together. Very nice, you guys. We can come to a seated position now. So that was just a quick little movement. I'm going to put my shawl back on, even though I'm a little warm. Maybe I'll just keep it on the side. All right, so those of you who want to work with a chair today, again, you're always welcome to do that. You can work with a pillow underneath your butt. Different ways of sitting, rather. Dhyānasana, back on your heels on a yoga block. Or Sukhasana, of course, comfortable cross-legged position. If you can get into a full lotus or half lotus, that's fine, but please, it's not what this is about. We're not forcing ourselves into any seated position. It's about finding some comfort. So I like to use a yoga block often if my hips aren't quite warm. Ideally, you want to practice asana before coming into pranayama, and I talked about this last week. So I might repeat, actually, I'm going to repeat a couple things from last week, but I would like this to be a continuation so that we can move forward. So for those of you who were here with me last week for that lecture, I'd like to add some more to that lecture. So we have some things to work with and to build on. Okay, so again, thank you for being here. Please feel free to say hello if you're just jumping in. I know there's some new people who just came in. The numbers are always fluctuating here. So Suli, hi, hello. I'm well. Thank you for asking. Okay, the other thing as far as audio goes, I'm going to do my best. I'm wearing AirPods, these little white things in my ears. Sometimes I can hear them kind of go in and out, so I'm not sure what the audio is like. If for some reason I lose audio or it's hard to hear or you hear static, go ahead and just please alert me so I can reset the AirPods so that the audio is clear, because I definitely want to have clear audio for this particular class or workshop, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So to recap, last week we talked about, or I talked about prana, what prana is, what prana is. That's a big subject in itself. So we spent a lot of time talking about prana, why it's important to learn to manage prana, learn what it is, learn to value it. I don't want to go over those details again because I already went over them. So again, if you are, for whatever reason, jumping into this class and didn't watch the last one, I would recommend watching last Sunday rather, the Pranayama Part 1, which should be up on my channel. Iris, yes, thank you. Okay, I'm going to keep this I'm going to keep it in mind to modify these practices for you. I know that you injured your shoulder. So, okay. Okay, so last week we talked about prana. I got into talking about the koshas, or the 5 bodies, right? And we talked about pranamaya kosha essentially being the connection of pranayama. So pranamaya kosha being the energetic system of the body, or also known as the aura. So when we're talking about the chakra system, we're talking about the pranamaya kosha. I'm going to kind of go into some of this stuff, but not too far. I think we talked about the 8 limbs of yoga, being asana, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, yamas and niyamas. So the full 8 limbs. So pranayama is being one practice of that 8-limbed path, but to me, probably one of the biggest, most juicy, most essential parts of the 8 limbs. and often overlooked. In the West, we just kind of do the asana practice, and the pranayama practice isn't really shared, or maybe people don't find it as much of his interest because they're really into the physical body, which is totally natural. But pranayama is really the entryway into the meditation, the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So super, super important. My AirPods again, so I'm not even sure if they're still on. Man, I hope so. Okay, so we also talked about, I think, the nadis, or at least Ida Nadi, Pingala, and Sushumna being the central channel. And we started to get into the bandhas. I did explain the bandhas a little more in depth in the Vinyasa Foundations class as well, which is also a pre-recorded live class that I have already taught. So if you want more information on any of these subjects, you can look. And I do have a playlist on my channel that has some of these classes, or I think all of the classes. And you can read the description. So the Vinyasa Foundations 1 and 2, I talk about asanas, I talk about bandhas. I think I get into a little pranayama, but not too much. Last time I talked about Mula Bandha last Sunday. Today I want to get into the other two bandhas as well as Mula Bandha, and we're going to move into other practices of pranayama, which are Kumbhaka, which is breath retention, and working with the bandhas with the breath retention, as well as, maybe if we have time, I'll talk about a couple of my favorite mudras that you can work with, very common mudras as well. And then we're going to get into some actual pranayama practice. So different pranayamas for different energies. So last week we did belly breathing. Very, very important that you understand the benefits and how to belly breathe. It is, to me, the entry point to the rest of the techniques. So if you're not familiar with the belly breath, again, I recommend you just go ahead and watch part 1 first. We talked about the Ujjayi breath, which goes with belly breath. It's the sound that we make during a vinyasa or hatha yoga practice in the back of the throat. So that nice, long, regulating sound, also heating the body, regulating the nervous system. And I think we got into some alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana and Anulom Vilom. We got into a little breath retention, but I didn't do too much of that. It was more just talking about how pranayama, and especially Nadi Shodhana, balances the hemispheres of the brain, and brings in more vital energy into the body, turning on the brain, of course, and many other benefits. Okay, I feel so weird talking with uh, with these little headphones in, because they keep going in and out, and I also feel like I'm like a little, I don't know, like I can't hear. It's so interesting. Okay. So, where should I begin today? And this is like a little I don't know, like what I don't even know the word I'm thinking of. Last week, I also was kind of off the cuff with my workshop or my presentation. However, I shared this information was kind of just in flow. It was free flowing, whatever kind of came up. So bear with me. This is going to be the same kind of construct. I'm going to go with what feels inspired, what I feel like might be in order. However, I might jump back and forth, and I'll try my hardest not to be too confusing, because I know this is a lot of information, but to me it is such juicy information, and probably the most important for me, and some of the stuff I'm the most passionate about, even more so than the physical practice, and the other aspects of yoga. Janine, I think you'll absolutely love this stuff as well. And yes, you need to catch up on last week. Absolutely. Thank you for the feedback on the audio, and thank you for the compliment on my hair. All right, so let's begin where we left off last time, or a little bit where we left off last time. I want to talk about so we have these 3 center locks in the body, or points in the body, muscular points, I guess you could say, that we work with in a uh, not just pranayama practice, but also in an asana practice. These are powerful places in the body that we can use to activate and enhance both our pranayama and our asana practice. Physically, there is an engagement that happens, and it's connected energetically to different energies moving within the body as well. I'm not going to get too much into the explanation of how or what, but I want you to feel the experience when we do it. But I'll explain the three places that we're going to work with. One is Mula Bandha. I talked about this last week. We'll start from the root. Mula means root. So it's the base of the body. Mula Dara is our root chakra. Also, went over that briefly about the 7 chakras, right? Most of us know or are at least familiar or have seen a picture of what the chakra system looks like. Mula is the base, the red Mula Dara is the base chakra. Mula Bandha is the base lock. So Mula Bandha, it's different ways of explaining Mula Bandha, but basically it's similar to a Kegel exercise. Like if you were going to stop a pee or something, those muscles there drawing in and up. I would say as an entry point, just working on squeezing the muscles at the base of your pelvis. That's just usually how I explain it. Drawing the perineum muscle in and up. Now, you can do that even while I'm talking about it. So if you've never experienced that before, we did do it last week. You can squeeze those muscles in and up and notice what happens, or just kind of feel. Sometimes you might get a little little pea shiver, a little zing up the body. Oftentimes you'll feel your spine just wake up, elongate, and that's great because that's what we're doing is turning on that root, that base connection to the earth, the base of the spine. All right. So Mula Bandha, engage, drawing in and up, and oftentimes we'll work with Mula Bandha on an exhale, but it can be used at any time during different asanas, different point in your practice, seated or moving. I'm going to just go over these briefly and then we're going to practice them. Because I went over Mula Bandha a little more last week, I'm going to spend some more time on Uddiyana Bandha. So we have Mula Bandha, the root, and then we have Uddiyana Bandha, the solar plexus area, the second bandha. Now, Uddiyana means to fly upward. So what we're doing is we're actually working with the transverse abdominals, and we're pulling the navel area in and up. Now, many things are happening when we do this action. And I also should add, just like I did last week, that pranayama should be practiced on an empty stomach. It's important, especially now that we're getting into these more developed techniques. I don't want to say advanced. Last week we did belly breath. I think Ujjayi, Anulom Vilom, Nadi Shodhana, like I mentioned, those are more light pranayams. These ones now we're going to be working with that internal burner, working with our digestive system, working with our transverse abdominals. So when we start to work with the digestive system, you want to make sure that you're empty. So at least 2 hours before, or excuse me, after food, and sometimes 4 recommended. Also, these kind of practices are often best done in the morning after you've gone to the bathroom. The ones that we're going to do today. They're exciting. These are my favorite. Okay, so Uddiyana Bandha. I just went ahead and did it. I'll show you again. I'll just roll my pants down a little so you can kind of see. Uddiyana Bandha is done on an exhale. So what we're going to do, I'll show you one more time. You exhale all the breath out. And you squeeze the navel in and up. I have to admit that I did have some banana pancakes a little later in the day today, and I am feeling them when I do that. Oh, man. Okay. So you might have done this when you were a kid, right? You kind of pull your navel in and up, and you see how skinny you can make your stomach or how flat you can make your stomach. Essentially, that's Uddiyana Bandha. So what you're doing is you're taking your transverse abdominals and you're pulling them in. You're squeezing everything toward the spine. And when you do that, you're also pulling up. So you're trying to almost tuck your stomach up into the ribs. It'll look kind of funny. Actually, I should show you the side view. I'll come to standing here. Okay, so how about we all do this together? Go ahead and come to standing. We're going to do some Uddiyana Bandha. Now, I hope you guys have not eaten. And if you have, if you've eaten, please do this very lightly just to get the feel of it. Okay? Just to get the feel of it. I don't want you to overexhaust any of your digestive juices or, upset your stomach or anything or get a side ache or a stomach ache. Okay. So what we're going to do is just a simple inhale in, exhale out. You can exhale however you want to, but I would say exhale out of the mouth if you really want to get all that breath out, like a good, powerful Hara exhale. Squeeze the breath out and then suck your belly in and up. Okay, when you're ready, nice breath in. Exhale all the way out. Hands on your knees. Squeeze that navel in and up. Don't pass out. When you need to, inhale, stand up. Full breath, exhale. Ujjayi breath. All right. And you might even get a little rush of energy, a feeling of heat in the body that's totally natural. We're actually going to start to heat up. The digestive system is known as a fire. It's our sun. So as we stimulate the digestive system, the rest of the body is going to get hot as well. All right. So you might have felt, I wish, if anyone has any questions on that. Hi, Natalia. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and write something in the comments. I want to make sure and address everyone's questions as well. If not, I'm just going to keep going. But if you do have access to your keyboard and have a question, please do. All right. So Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha, we can try doing two of them together. Maybe you might have felt that you already did it naturally. Okay. So we're going to take a breath in. We're going to exhale all the way out. Again, you're going to bend your knees. And now I'm just using my knees. You can do this in seated. You can do this in different positions. Okay. Even if you're in on a chair or on the ground, but it's sometimes easier to learn in standing. So we're going to take a nice deep breath in. Try it on the exhale to find Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha, right? Breathe in, exhale, let it out. Hold your breath, squeeze in and up. Inhale when you need to, stand up. Exhale. Good, again, inhale. Just coming back to a nice regulating Ujjayi breath. Good. Now you might have felt, this is your first time doing this, you might have also felt the third bandha automatically happening, which is Jalandhara Bandha. So if you felt your throat actually feel a little bit of a suction happening in your throat, then you've activated that third bandha, Jalandhara Bandha. So we have Mula Bandha, root. We have Uddiyana Bandha, navel in and up. And then we have the tuck of the chin, creating that nice long spine and almost like a suction of energy coming up through the spine. Now, there's a term for all three engaged, and I do use it in my classes sometimes. It's called Maha Bandha. Maha means the great. Bandha is the lock. So Maha Bandha is the great lock, or all three bandhas engaged. So when you're doing more intensive pranayama practice or Kriya practice, which is in the realm of pranayama, really, to me, it's very similar. It's the same thing pretty much. You're using Maha Bandha, you're going to feel that's when we really start to skyrocket doing these practices. So if you want to play, we'll do one more. And I'm going to throw in a bonus that I didn't plan on throwing in, but let's throw it in here. I would qualify this more as a Kriya practice, but it's essentially a pranayama practice as well, because pranayama is essentially working with our life force energy. So we're learning to manage, to sense, to direct, to move our life force energy. And this practice that I'm about to share as well does the same thing. So I'm going to introduce Agni Sara, which is a Kriya practice that I've also taught in some of my classes. Essentially, we're working with Uddiyana Bandha, but all we're doing is adding a pump of the belly. So, a pump of the stomach muscles. It looks like this. Exhale all the way out. And exhale. Okay, now I got a question. I love this. I don't know how to pronounce that username, Revis. But yes, is this also the way to start Nali? Yes. Nali Kriya is essentially the next step from Agni Sara, and we are working with um, Uddiyana Bandha as well. So Agni Sara, which we just did, is finding the Uddiyana Bandha and then softening the belly, pulling it in, soften the belly, pull it in. You're not breathing through the whole thing. You're holding the exhale and you're pumping the stomach muscles. Nali Kriya is when we hold the exhale, we suck in, we isolate the rectus abdominals, and we move them side to side. So essentially, it's a belly massage. If you do want to do Nali Kriya, if that's a practice for you, if you happen to be here in this workshop and you're like, hey, I just want to hang out and, you know, do the practices with you guys, even though I know what's going on. Awesome. Thanks for being here. You want to do the Nali, throw it in. I'll show you guys really quick if you want to mess with it. Try it out. Sometimes you get it on the first try. Sometimes you can be practicing Hatha Yoga for years and it still doesn't come. So I'm going to just roll my pants down really quick again. We're going to take a breath in, or I'll show you if you want to watch. Okay. Nali Kriya. I've been doing that one for years. It's a little more popular now. It was super weird back when I was doing it. So it's a little bit of an elusive practice. Working with those transverse abdominals. So if you don't get it, that's fine. You can do Agni Sara, but I'm going to give you all a chance to do it together with me. You're welcome. All right, so again, you can either do the belly pump, or if you want to try just isolating those rectus abdominals, you could try that. And then if you want to try rolling, you can do that as well. Sometimes the first step is just the isolation. All right, and if you don't want to do Agni Sara as well, you could just hold your Uddiyana Bandha. So let's go ahead and ground. Take a moment wherever you are. Take a breath in. Exhale out. Hold your breath. Squeeze the navel in and up. Either practicing, holding, finding the Kumbhaka, Agni Sara, belly pumping, or Nali Kriya. When you need to, inhale, stand up, breathe. Pause. Exhale, slow and controlled, let the breath out. Ground into your stance or into your seat. Take a moment to settle. Breathe in again if you need to. That definitely brought some gas up for me. Very good. All right, I'm going to take a seat again. So if you guys are standing, let's go ahead and find a seat. Super, super healthy, as you can imagine. We don't often focus on the abdominal region in Western massage, even, right? So we know a lot of us might even have massage therapists or go get a massage. Well, when it wasn't socially awkward, right, to get massages, because I know with the quarantine thing happening. Anyways, the abdominal region is super, super important to address. In Eastern medicine and in Eastern type of massages, like Thai massage that I do, we focus heavily on that abdominal region. So giving our organs, all the vital organs, some fresh new vitality, making sure that we're squeezing out all that excess, rather stagnant breath that we don't fully exhale throughout the day, which I talked about in part 1 as well. And making sure we're empty to make room for that fresh new vitality, that other new prana, new energy coming through. All right, keeping ourselves healthy, not sick. Okay, let me make sure I don't have any questions. Perfect. Okay, so then I got into already, I talked about Jalandhar Bandha, the third bandha from those three. Um, That happens also, you might feel throughout your asana practice. When you really start to implement the pranayama into the asana practice, it becomes a totally different experience, first of all. But you also notice the different energies that start to move. You start to sense and feel different things differently once you become aware of the pranayama and the power and the value of pranayama. The asana has almost become like a secondary thing. It's like the pranayama is the practice, the asana has become the accessory, is what I like to say. And then we really start to dance with the energy. Even when you go into cat cow at the beginning of a practice and your exhale, pressing into the palms, often when you exhale and feel that navel drawing in and up, you'll actually get that maha happening even in that pose. In Dandasana and staff pose, you really feel the Mahabandha happening there. When you practice the pranayama independently as well, then you can go ahead and implement it into the asana practice and have a totally powerful, different experience. And I recommend that for everybody. I wish that everyone would learn pranayama also, equally, if not more, than the asana practice. Okay, so I think I mentioned the word Kumbhaka, but I didn't actually talk about it. Maybe I did a little last week as well. The word Kumbhaka means retention. So we learn our pranayama, where we learn the techniques of the in and out breath, whatever the technique is, whether it's a Kapalabhati, right, the Ujjayi, whatever the technique is. But a step up from just learning the in and out is finding the in between. So we can suspend the breath. It's a conscious suspension. So there's a very big difference between holding the breath and suspending the breath. The suspension, I would say, is the Kumbhaka, or the conscious retention of breath. So when you're first learning an asana practice or a yoga practice, you might have found that it's hard to breathe, right? Or that you're holding your breath. And that's why when I'm teaching a lot, or if you've ever taken a class and you hear the teacher say, don't hold your breath, make sure you're still breathing. You're like, didn't even know you were holding your breath. It happens all the time. It's just a conditioned response to stress, is that we hold our breath. So through the practice of pranayama, we're actually deconditioning and changing our conditioning, our conditioned response rather to stimuli, to things that might otherwise cause stress. So instead of going straight into stress mode, we can become aware of the thing, of the trigger, whatever that trigger is. It can be anything at all, anything. And instead of just riding it right into this unconscious place of reaction, we have the opportunity to respond and to take control of the body's response, the body and the mind and the emotions response. And the pranayama is that tool. So we can implement the pranayama to start to become more aware, more mindful of, our patterns, of our tendencies, of our patterns. So we kind of like hijack the reactive train, and we're like, whoa, I see I'm going there. Breath. Okay, I'm still going there. Breath again. And we just do that until we regulate the nervous system, and actually the brain patterns start to change by doing that. Every time we change a reaction to a stimuli or to an event, we actually change our brain patterns. And this can happen too with trauma. So pranayama can actually rewire our response to trauma as well, which we carry often in the body. And I'm sure a lot of you probably have already heard that by now, right? Okay, so Kumbhaka, back to the retention. So we can retain the breath at the top of an inhale, and we can retain the breath at the bottom of an exhale. We are retaining the breath when we just did the bandha practice. Okay, so essentially you're doing Kumbhaka with Uddiyana Bandha because you're retaining the exhale and you're pulling in and up, right? But you can also retain the inhale, like I think we did with Nadi Shodhana last week, doing alternate nostril breathing. When you come to the top of your breath in and pause, that pause, that hold, that retention is also Kumbhaka, okay? Also very, very powerful to practice Kumbhaka once you feel comfortable with the whatever pranayama you're doing, whatever technique you're doing. First, get grounded and comfortable with the in and the out process of whatever that pranayama is. Once you feel comfortable in that, you can add the retention or the Kumbhaka. Now, the Kumbhaka or the Kumbhak, when you come into it, the way to practice for yourself, because I can guide. We'll do a little practice with it as well. But if you're developing your own pranayama practices, which my intention is to share this information with you guys so you can essentially practice on your own. So this is why this is more of a workshop rather than just a guided practice. I want to empower you with this information so that you can also do this on your own. You can rewatch this video whenever you want and relearn the information until you feel solid with it as well. So for a Kumbhaka practice or a pranayama with Kumbhaka practice, whether you're doing an exhale or an inhale, you are finding your own edge. So what I mean by that is if you're in the external retention or the external Kumbhaka, which is a out or a, all right, you want to find the edge where there's a response or a reaction. Suddenly there's going to be the first reaction is, I need to breathe. And you can first observe that. Do you really need to breathe, or is it that you're scared that you don't have breath? So we're working with our nervous system, and this is very, very powerful stuff. Sorry, just resetting my ears. Okay, so you can soften into that first feeling of, I don't have breath, and notice, because a lot of times the nervous system, if it's really wound up, we can't hold the breath very long. And these breathing practices will help you in everything else. It'll help you sing. It'll help you free dive. Anything where you need breath control and breath practice, pranayama is going to enhance that as well. So you're going to notice that your ability to hold your breath, your breath retention becomes longer each time, but you never want to force. You're not in competition to hold your breath as long as you can. It's not about that. This is about observing the edge of comfort. So when you start to feel actual discomfort, or like you're gonna run out of breath, or you're gonna run out of oxygen rather, you want to inhale right before that edge. You don't want to push it. Don't want to pass out. Absolutely not. So you just want to feel, though, or observe rather, the edges of the retention. So more than likely, you'll first come up on the need to. You'll say there's no air, right? But then once you relax the mind a little bit, relax the shoulders, relax the face, relax wherever you can in the body, you'll notice, whoa, I can just relax here a little longer. And you actually didn't need to breathe in so quickly. Okay, so that's especially the exhale. I would say that's a little more difficult than the inhale, because the inhale, we're taking in breath. So there's the feeling of, I have breath. There's a lot of breath, but eventually you're going to have to exhale. Same thing, right? You don't want to hold all that in. So when you need to, you exhale, but not like you're going to explode like a balloon. You want to find the edge, and the same thing. There's a softness that can happen. So when you're all the way full, I mean, completely full with breath, and it's so healthy to be filled with breath. Soften the shoulders, soften the chest, soften the neck, soften the facial muscles, soften everything, and you keep softening until you finally release, and then you release long, slow exhale out. Right? So that's how you do Kumbhaka practice. You find the edges, you respect the edges, but you also observe how that edge will slowly change as you soften into the edge every time you practice. I mentioned this last Sunday, and I think it's a really cool philosophy or theory, however you want to look at it. But the yogis, the Indian, practitioners and yogis say that a person's life is equal to the amount of breaths they take, or that each person has a certain amount of breaths within their lifetime, and the slower you breathe or the less breaths you take, the slower you age. So your life span rather is longer, dependent on the length of your breath. So the adept yogis supposedly, they breathe, I don't know what the number is, but it's just much less than the average human person. Hence, finding these guys out there that are really, really old. Sometimes they say they're like 200 years old or whatever they are. And some of them probably are out there. All right. Let's get into some practice. If you feel like you need to stand up and stretch or twist or do anything with yourself, go ahead, move around a little bit. Oof. Got some nice neck cracks there. All right, you guys. So let's get into some pranayama, some breathing techniques, because this is all essentially pranayama. But I'm going to talk about two different energizing breathing techniques here. Holy moly, it's already 6:46. Okay, woo, the time flies, man. All right, let's do some practice. So, two different energizing breathing techniques we're going to do, and then we're going to do, if I have time, two calming or two calming. And if not, I'll just do one. I'll try to get through these. I don't want to rush through them too much, but I want to get through some stuff here. So Kapalabhati is a common breath, especially in Vinyasa Hatha yoga practices. It's very common in my classes. If you come to my beach yoga classes, or if you've come to my classes in the studios over the last 11 years, I often teach Kapalabhati. It's pretty simple, but effective as far as activating the juices, both energetically, digestive juices, just in general. Okay, so we're also using Uddiyana Bandha, we're engaging the transverse abdominals, doing all the things. It is a nasal breath, however, and if you have any kind of blockages going on, any sinus issues, stuff like that, you want to have some tissues nearby, definitely. In general, when you do pranayama practice, it's good to have some tissues nearby sometimes because snot happens. But especially during Kapalabhati, and it's definitely happened before for me, even while teaching. So what we're doing for Kapalabhati is a active exhale, a passive inhale. So we're focusing on the exhale. The inhale happens automatically. And it's all through the nose. So it's a all right, you notice it's kind of a quick exhale, and we're using the transverse abdominals, the same muscles you would use while you're laughing. So if you're having a laughing attack and you're like, ha, 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 and you're really in a full-on laughter and you get sore stomach muscles from laughing so hard because you're actually activating those transverse abdominals. We're doing the same thing in this breathing technique. And you want to definitely focus on those exhales. So it's a quick staccato exhale, passive inhale. We'll start slow, then we'll speed it up. So go ahead and find your seat, comfortable long spine. And we'll begin by taking a breath in and then doing a quick exhale. Yep. And then relax. Again, relax. So inhale, exhale. Now, what's going to happen when you start to speed it up, exhaling, 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 finding rhythm, is that you're not focusing on the inhale. You're just letting the inhale happen automatically. It's like taking a bellows and you go and you squeeze it, but when you let it go, the breath already comes back into the body or into the bellows, right? So you squeeze, you let it go, the breath comes back. So you're just focusing on the squeeze. Okay? So let's play with that. When you're ready, take a breath and let's go ahead. Good. Go ahead and stop. That one's definitely going to wake up your digestive engine. So you might find gas happening, all different things. That's why you want to do it again on an empty stomach. All right. Now, if you want to add an element here, give me one moment. I got a question. Oh, I've been meaning to ask you about this. So do you take a big breath and staccato release or inhale, exhale each time? So there's no big breath in between. It is a passive inhale and a staccato exhale. So you're just going. Now, when you go fast like me, so you notice I'm just exhale, 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 exhale. I'm not focusing on the inhale. There's another breath where we do focus on the inhale and the exhale. We'll do that next. It's called Bhastrika. This one is just a quick exhale. All right, Janine. So thank you for asking that, by the way. Staccato exhale, passive inhale. That's why you can start slow and then speed it up when you get used to it. So we're going to do another round when you guys are ready, and I'm going to let you choose your speed. So if you got this right away, go ahead and practice going fast. If you lose it, though, you might sometimes lose it and be like, oh gosh, I lost it. Take a moment, come back to it, take a breath in, begin again. If you find out you're losing breath, you're slow down and just allow the inhale to happen. Okay, so go ahead when you're ready. Nice breath. If you want to clear first, nice ujjayi breath, ground. Go ahead and begin. Find a pace that's comfortable for you. Now we're going to try to speed it up a little. So if you can, go a little faster. Now exhale all the way out. Hold your breath out. See if you can do Mula Bandha, maybe Uddiyana Bandha, maybe Jalandhar Bandha. Find that Kumbhaka, external retention. Inhale when you need to. Full deep breath, hold it in for a moment. Sit up tall, soften your shoulders. Release, exhale, ujjayi breath. Settling into the seat. Ground. Long, full breath in through the nose. Fill your belly, ribs and chest. Pause, soften your chest. Exhale, empty chest, ribs, belly. Good. So we did that last week, always coming back to that first grounding breath, even through these different pranayama techniques. All right, you guys. So that was Kapalabhati, and we added a external kumbhak. You can also do an internal kumbhak. So you could do exhale and then inhale right away and hold it. Now play with that. I like to do an external retention first because there's something it just feels good for me to empty first. Squeeze, pull up, and then fill up. Think about a sponge, right? You want to squeeze out the gross old water from the sponge and you put it in clean water. Let it absorb all the clean water. That's how I feel when I do the external Kumbhaka with the internal following. Okay, so Kapalabhati is the active exhale, passive inhale. Find a pace that works for you, even if it's slow, even if it's all right. Also important, again, I didn't mention it because I assumed you guys knew, very important you practice that with a long spine as well. So you want to make sure that you're in a nice position where you have a long spine, whether it's in a chair, kneeling, on a cushion. I'm on a yoga block, even though I can sit perfectly on the ground. I still like to have an elevated spine when I do pranayama practice. All right. Cool, Janine. Glad you got it. All right, Bhastrika, you guys, is a active inhale, active exhale. So as Bhastrika was passive inhale, active exhale, now we're going. That's intense. And it is. So Bhastrika can be practiced like, all right. And it can also be practiced with with another part of the body engaged. And I like to do this one with my arms if I'm going to do Bhastrika. Let me think. I also do this in class sometimes. I think we do Utkatasana. Yeah, and then we bring the arms back. We go inhale up, exhale. I know, in standing Utkatasana. So if you're in seated with me, we're going to do something different today. We're just going to bring the arms up and down. So in Bhastrika, we're going to go inhale. We're going to reach up with the arms. Exhale, pull them down. All right. I think they do this a lot in Kundalini yoga as well. So inhale actively, exhale actively. Bring the energy back down. It's intense. This one will make you sweat. I'm already sweating talking about it. I did a couple and I'm like, woof. So this one again is very energizing. It's very fire inducing. Okay, so we're going to do it together. We'll go slow. Go ahead and sit up tall. Let me reset these. They just went out on me. All right. Ground. When you're ready, inhale, hands up. Exhale. Inhale. Inhale. Exhale. Active. Don't be afraid to breathe. Couple more. Speed it up for the last few. Good. We'll just stop there. Ooh, forgot about that one. I haven't practiced Bhastrika in a while. That one's going to bring a lot of oxygen into the system. You're going to feel a little lightheaded with that one. Super energizing. Also, again, we're getting a nice oxygen rush. So you want to start doing that one a little, maybe more on the gentle side, and then working your way up to more intensity. I just like to jump into that intensity because I like to stir things up. But you don't want to get too deep into these more intense pranayamas. If you're doing them, I would say maybe 10 minutes to start in either one of them, working your way up from there, maybe even 5, maybe if you're doing 5 and 5. If you do too much fire-inducing pranayama practice or Kriya practice, you might stir up things that are not so pleasant. So it might actually be counterintuitive, which is okay in some situations if you have the lifestyle which enables you to really sit and go deep into meditation. If you don't, most people don't, then you might stir up a lot of stuff for yourself. Actually, get your nervous system a little too stimulated, and then try to go out in the world, and you'll have a much shorter fuse than you maybe did before. So these, I'm not getting into the deeper reasons and aspects of these practices. I'm just saying don't do them too intense or too long. Super healthy though to do it, to just energize the system a couple minutes a day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You don't want to get obsessed and start doing 30 minutes an hour many times a day of these practices, again, unless you're like living in a ashram or a situation where this is all you have. You don't have to go to work, you don't have to interact with people and such. Okay, so Bhastrika is active inhale, active exhale. You can do that one in standing, but I would say do it in seated as well to start if you're going through different rounds of these practices, because if you get lightheaded, you can always, accidentally make yourself pass out, which you don't want to do, but it happens. Because of time, because we're running out of time here, man, I can't believe how quickly this time goes. But I'm delighted because I actually really, really love this stuff. So let's move on. I guess, yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on really quick. So from Kapalabhati and Bhastrika being more energized, more fire-inducing practices, and if you were developing your own practice, I was actually about to say this, and I guess I will. If you're developing your own practice, I would suggest starting with nice belly breathing, grounding Ujjayi breath, and then you could start to go into some Kapalabhati. You could start to go into some Bhastrika, bringing the energy up, and then you want to bring it back down. Now you don't have to do the energizing practices, of course, but they're nice to do. You could also wind down with some Nadi Shodhana or Anulom Vilom, which is alternate nostril breathing, but I'm not going to do that one here today because I did it last week. I am going to teach you Shitali and Sitkari. Shitali is a cooling breath, And this one is fun. It's done with curling the tongue. So you probably also did this when you were a child, right? Some of you can maybe make that like double loop. I can't do that, but we want to loop the tongue for Shatali. So what we're doing for Shatali, and again, this is a cooling breath. So after you bring the fire or the Agni into the body, get that stimulated. Now you want to calm down, or if your body is actually really hot and you want to cool it down, we're going to inhale through the little hole in the tongue. So you curl your tongue. Inhale all the way in. Hold it for a moment. Sit up tall. Lengthen the spine. Exhale out of the nose, mouth closed. Ujjayi, exhale maybe. Settling into the seat all the way out. At the bottom, swallow. And begin again. Curl your tongue. Inhale. All the way to the top. Hold your breath. Lengthen, shoulders soft, chest soft, spine long. Exhale the Ujjayi breath. Settle. Take a moment, swallow. And let's do one more like that. Curl your tongue. Now, if you can't curl your tongue, if you're having too many issues, just make an O. Otherwise, curl the tongue. Inhale in. All the way to the top, all the way full. Hold your breath. Soften the shoulders. Sit up as tall as you can. And when you're ready, exhale the Ujjayi breath. Empty the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Swallow down. Take a moment to just recognize any shifts in your energy. Notice any difference. Notice any sensations in the body, temperature change. Just give a moment to feel the effects. All right. I felt that one right away. Okay, you guys. So that was Shitali, cooling breath. And again, down with the tongue curled. And if that's too difficult for you, you can do that with like you're drinking out of a straw. Similar breath to that, same family, same situation. It's called Sitkari, and it's breathing through the teeth. So it's also known as like the teeth pranayama. Instead of making the tongue curl, you do the same thing, but you're just kind of breathing through your teeth. So it looks like this. The tongue is relaxed just behind the teeth, and you're just sucking air in through your teeth, holding it in, exhaling it out. Nice and slow. You can do that with me or at your own pace. Make your little teeth, part your lips, relax your tongue, breathe in. All the way to the top. Pause. I like to do a little internal Kumbhaka at the top, and then exhale, let it out. Swallow down. Let's do one more of those when you're ready. If you ever need to take a little grounding breath in between, please do when you're ready. Inhale in. Pause. Exhale, let it out slow. Very nice. Again, taking a moment to feel any shifts, any subtle shifts that take place through that little technique there. So simple, even 3 breaths can shift a lot of things, right? Steve, thank you for sharing your name, by the way. Steve, very nice explanations and demonstrations. You answered several of my questions before I had to ask. You are so welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that feedback a lot. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to do one more. I only wanted to make this an hour, but because I would like to include this in this specific video so that you guys can do this in the future as well. And it's one of my favorite. And I don't always do it, but when I do, man, I love it because it incorporates sound. And some of you know I'm a big sound advocate. I am also a musician and soundscape producer, I guess you could say. I have all my little different instruments that I like to work with Nada Yoga, which is actually the yoga of sound, sound meditation in general. I'm a singer, songwriter, blah, 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 all the things. I love sound. Very powerful as well. But, anyways, this last one is called Bhramari or bumblebee breath. Yay. And everyone loves bees, right? Well, not everyone, but we should all love bees. So, Bhramari breath, we're going to introduce also. This is a perfect time to introduce mudra. Very briefly, I'll touch on mudra. So, depending on, I'm just going to explain this as if you are just brand new to yoga practice and you've maybe seen some pictures of people, looking like they're meditating and you don't know exactly what they're doing, but you're like, okay, this is what it looks like. So, you see a lot of people oftentimes making this mudra when they're meditating, Gyan mudra or Yana mudra. This is called the mudra or the seal is what a mudra is essentially. It's a seal, or a seal of not like the animal, but an energetic seal is what we're doing. Is essentially yoga asana with the hands. So man, I really wanted to make this a brief explanation, but when I start talking about things, I'm like, oh, I have to tell them about everything. But okay, so of the 72,000 nadis that I mentioned that we have in the energetic pranic body, like I did last week, right? All of these nadis and channels run through every part of the physical body as well, creating this big network, this auric field, but also they're running through the physical body. And in Chinese medicine, right, they call them the meridians. So in yoga, we call them the nadis. They're very similar, if not the same. And when we even touch, when we make shapes, certain conscious shapes with the body, we're actually doing mudra with the entire body, but we can also do these energetic shapes and seals with the hands. And by touching specific points, right, of the body, we're actually moving specific energy through the body in a certain way that does certain things. It turns on certain organs, it helps digestion, it stimulates certain parts of the brain, it does all different things. So each of these aspects of yoga that I'm sharing are almost entire studies in themselves, entire types of yoga. So I talked about swara yoga being the practice or the yoga of watching the way the breath moves through the nostrils, and it's a whole discipline in itself. So I'm going to go on a tangent if I keep going on because I'm super passionate about this stuff, you guys. You couldn't tell. But we're going to talk about mudra right now. Coming back to Gyan Mudra or Yana Mudra, the seal of knowledge. This is a very, very common mudra because it is a mudra of focus. So if you're beginning to come into a meditation practice, or even if you want focus throughout your day, if you're trying to focus on a task, if you're trying to focus on something you're saying, on a conversation, on a subject you're trying to explain, sometimes this mudra will help to focus. Okay, so Gyan Mudra. It is often nice to practice during a pranayama practice as well because it keeps our attention inward or focused. Another one, really quick, I'm definitely going to go over in time here. Another mudra is that one of my personal favorites that I find is coming back now into my life right now is Prana Mudra. We're talking about pranayama, might as well talk about prana mudra. Now, there are so many mudras. You could Google these, you could buy books on mudras. They're they're fascinating, and it's a wonderful practice. Prana mudra is a nice overall mudra for bringing energy into the body, for cultivating uh, prana, bringing energy up the body, or up the spine rather, and into the body. Prana mudra is done by bringing your pinky and your ring finger down to your thumb, and your pointer and middle finger are together. Okay. Now, any of these mudras can be practiced sitting, on your lap. I would say prana mudra for me, I often practice with the fingers facing upward. You can do it one hand, you can do it both hands. I often find myself spontaneously going into it and holding my fingers up. But that also is because this particular mudra does also enhance the prana energy flow, which is the upward flow of prana. So this one's really, really good for, again, bringing energy into the body, vitality, just overall well-being and health. Okay. You can practice this during your pranayama practice as well, or you can practice this independently. Totally just giving that information out. Now we're getting to back to Bhramari, because I went a little bit off course here. The final breath that I want to do here before we wrap it up is the bumblebee breath. Bhramari also has Bhramari mudra. We're going to get into that in a second, actually. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to talk about the breath first. The breath is done by taking an inhale in, and on the exhale, we actually make the sound of a bee. So we're going the highest pitched kind of hum that you can make, or a buzzing sound, a very head buzzy sound. Okay, you can also go depending on whatever sound you want to make. It doesn't have to sound good. It's not about sounding good. It's about getting the vibration in the head. So it's very nasally head vibrating experience. So go ahead and play with that really quick. Just go ahead, and if you haven't already, because I bet you guys already started, you take a breath in. And when you're ready, you make any kind of the full length of your exhale all the way through. You want to do that with your eyes closed, because what's important here is we're going to start to now tune out the other senses and let that sound be the center focus. Now, we're going to add the Bhramari mudra. So this is another one where we're doing mudra while we're doing the pranayama, like in Nadi Shodhana and Anulom Vilom, we did Vishnu mudra, right? Closing off the nostrils with the right hand. Iris, I know if you're here with me, if you don't want to do this part, you don't have to. I know you said you had I think a shoulder injury or an elbow injury. So Bhramari mudra, there's a couple ways to do this. The way that I like to practice, I have AirPods in my ear, so actually this isn't even going to work for me. I'm just going to have to press into the AirPods. But essentially, you're taking your thumbs, you're putting your thumbs into your ear, into your little ear lobes here. You're closing off your ears. Now, you want to take your pointer and middle fingers. Some people do this differently, but essentially you're shutting off your eyes. So you're not pressing, you're gently covering over your eyes with your pointer and middle finger. Don't close your ears yet, because then you can't hear me. Just go ahead and rest your fingers there. Middle finger can come, or excuse me, ring finger can come down below your nostrils, and your pinkies rest below your lips. So this is the position essentially that you'll be in during Bhramari. Okay, so that's Bhramari mudra. You're essentially closing off the senses. So you're going inward. Okay, so number one way, and if this is super uncomfortable for you, you don't want to touch your face right now, or you don't want to touch your eyes, you can also just put your middle finger over your eye and your pointer finger up over your eyebrows. You can do that as well. And then if you don't want to touch the face at all there, you can put your thumbs over your ears. You can use your thumbs to close off your ears and make a little bit of a helmet with your hands, placing your pinkies above your eyebrows and the rest of your hands over your head. However, I don't know, there's just something a little more powerful about closing off and covering off the rest of the face for me. So I would recommend trying that. If you don't want to, of course, you don't have to, but we're going to try this. We're going to do a couple rounds together so you can experience it, and then feel it out for yourself. So I'll explain it really fast. It's very easy. You're going to take an inhale in. You're going to make the buzz sound as you're closing off, all the way, buzzing, buzz, 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 like all the way through, all the way through, all the way through, all the way through. Inhale again. Buzz again. We'll do it. Let's go 3 times to start at your own pace, because your ears are going to be closed. You won't be able to hear my instruction. So I want you to go at your own breath pace. We'll go together. And when you're complete with the rest, with your last buzzing, with your last exhale, go ahead and just release your hands down to your lap. Keep your eyes closed. Don't open your eyes. And I want you to just feel for a moment. And we'll all settle in together. So when you guys are ready, go ahead. Place your thumbs over your ears. Place your hands over your face in Bhramari Mudra. Go ahead, take a breath in. Begin when you're ready. All right, noticing any shifts in your energy there. I feel like that one could have gone on much longer. And it should, I would say you could do 10 rounds of that one and really, really get into it. And the sound actually ends up, the nada, it really, really takes you into a deep, deep place. And I would say that would be a perfect way to wrap up the pranayama practice and then go right into stillness, right into meditation from there. You can play with the tone, with the different tones that you want to use for that one. Even for myself, I usually stay a little lower in the tone. Um, so you just play with whatever you feel resonates the best. Another practice similar to that is using Om. So instead of, you can do an Om. Take an inhale and Om out. But I really like Bhramari. I think it's really, really neat and really cool, very effective, and yeah, super good. So, man, it's 7:18 now. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for allowing me to present this information, for hanging in and listening, for being receptive to it. It's such an honor and a pleasure to share this stuff. Um, hmm. It inspires me to share more of it. And I would like to create more pranayama centered practices in the future instead of just asana, or instead of having to do a workshop where I'm explaining everything, just going ahead and doing these practices together, so that you can feel comfortable having your own on your own. And if you already do, more power to you. But thank you again so much. If you have any questions about anything that we covered today, anything you want to share, any feedback, I would love to hear that. go ahead and type me something if you want. I'll give you guys a couple minutes here if you want to do that, because I'm on a little bit of a delay with my camera. I know sometimes it takes a minute to catch up. And if you don't have anything, you guys, thank you so much again for joining me today. If you want to contribute to my classes and workshops, I really appreciate that. I've been holding these all by donation and giving them out to the public, but it does take me a little bit of time, of course, to prepare and set all this up for you guys. So I do appreciate any kind of contribution if you feel willing or inspired to share. My information for that is should be on the link. Venmo and PayPal should be on the link to the video. And if you guys want to follow me on any of the other platforms, if you don't already, I think I included my Linktree link as well. But if that's not on there, if I didn't, I'm on Instagram as Wandering Heartist, at Wandering. It's like artist but with a heart, and Facebook as Wandering Heartist and Jessica Ohm as well. Yeah, I guess I can't think of anything else right now. If you guys have again any questions or feedback, it looks like some of you do. So one moment, let me read. Um, Janine, this was so awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. You're welcome. I love teaching and sharing. For me, like such a big part of why I love teaching. I love flowing. Everyone knows I love the physical practice. It's beautiful, but this stuff for me, to me rather, and for me in my personal life has been the real meat, the real transformation, um, or the transformative practices is learning to work with the breath, learning to feel and tune into the subtle energy bodies and to work with that energy, and especially doing this outside. Oh my goodness, if you do this outside at the beach, out by trees, out in nature, there's another level of experience that you're going to get to by bringing in all of that fresh air. Oh, so good. Natalia, I'm going to use bees in the classroom, even the virtual one with my students. Thank you so much. That gave me goosebumps. I'm not even kidding. All over my body. Bhramari breath is what it's called, or you can call it the bumblebee breath as well. And that, you're a math teacher. Oh, that's so sweet. That makes me so, so happy. Kids love pranayama. They love actually learning this stuff. I mentioned this last week, I've taught it to all different age groups, fourth and fifth graders. I've taught it to middle schoolers before testing in private school. I've taught it to high schoolers and the staff of the high schools. I've taught it to college, university, and FAU, to an anthropology class a couple times. If my friend and student Nancy's on here. Hi, Nancy. She's so, so sweet. She always invites me every year to go speak to her anthropology class at FAU and present this kind of information. It's just, to me, I feel like we should be learning this in school. But kids love pranayama, and especially the bumblebee breath. It's really, really cool. And it's so good for teaching people to regulate their nervous system. It helps with anxiety, really helps with everything. So, okay, you guys, there's nothing else. Happy rest of your Sunday. Thanks for hanging in here with me. I really, again, appreciate your presence, your love, your support, your trust, all the things. I wish I could give you all a hug in person. I know that there's like the whole social awkwardness of hugging and touching still, but just know that I wish I could. Okay, you guys, have fun, whatever you're doing. Enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.